Okay, so today is our final video, video 8 in this series, and we're going to be talking about long-term success with the intermittent fasting. So one of the keys is to be consistent. So it's always good to start gradually and build up slowly. You want to pick a timing and a frequency that suits you. So when I talk about timing, I'm talking about how long you're doing your fasting window and how long you're having your eating window, but also the frequency. So how many days per week you're doing it, whether you're doing it every day, some days. It's important to build it up, and you might change it over time, but try and come up with some sort of consistent plan that sort of can be put into autopilot. And then you need to be flexible as well. So if there's weeks where there's things out of the ordinary, adapt that plan. We've talked about that in previous episodes, how you can, if you've got a social event on and you eat extra that night, you might, do a longer fast the next day. So just make it flexible if you're traveling or, you've got social events or whatever it is. It's always easier to fast when you're occupied and you've got things to keep you, to keep your mind from thinking about food. So you want to set yourself up to be successful. So you don't want to make it too challenging. So work it around your lifestyle. Balanced nutrition is incredibly important. We want to make sure that we are eating highly nutritious foods in our eating windows. So because we are, for most people, you're probably going to end up eating less food than what you would have if you weren't fasting, because essentially you're sort of skipping a meal. You need to make sure that you're getting your nutritional needs. That's number one. So most people eat too many calories. They're not eating nutrient-dense food. So they're eating too many calories to get their required amount of nutrients that they need. So if you're eating high nutrient-dense foods, you can get that same amount of nutrition with less calories because of the foods that you're picking. So you want to make sure that you do pick high density nutritional foods, like obviously fruits and vegetables and meat and eggs and that sort of thing. And you've got to get the calorie balance right for you. So that, as we've talked about in previous episodes, it's important to not, the main aim of the fasting is to try and not overeat. Most people tend to overeat. We eat more than what our body needs. So we want to make sure that by fasting, we're more so, you might, if you need to lose weight, you might be going into a slight calorie deficit on some days. But we want to make sure that we don't drastically reduce the calories, because otherwise your body will start to slow its metabolic rate down. It will go into like a survival mode where it will feel like calories are restricted, so it needs to slow down and conserve energy. We don't want to do that. We want to keep the metabolism firing strong. We don't want the body to be in that survival mode. So you've just got to find that right balance of nutrients and calories. That works for you. And sometimes it's a bit of experimentation. You need to make sure you want to be adaptable with your lifestyle. And so you really, more so you want to adapt the fasting to your lifestyle. So when you can find an aligned approach with your lifestyle, it's much easier to do it long term. The more effort it takes, the less likely you are to do it long term. So if you fit it around your work, around your schedule, when you're occupied, it's easier to fast. Maybe on the days, weekends or something like that, you might not fast. So just adapt it based around your lifestyle, but also this may change over time. So don't feel that you're locked into a certain approach right now and you have to keep that approach. You can change it and be flexible as you know, maybe your work life changes, or maybe you know, just different activities. You've got grandkids that you're looking after that you weren't looking after before, and yeah, there might be different life events that happen that change. So adapt the fasting so that it fits in easily with those you know, with whatever lifestyle changes you have. And then finally, excuse me. Finally, we want to, if you are doing it for weight loss specifically, like you're wanting to burn body fat and change your body shape, and you start to get a bit of a plateau, that, you know, perhaps it initially worked for you and then it's stopping working. You know, one of the main ways that fasting does work is that, you know, you are reducing your calories, so you're not overeating like you may have been on some days previously, but it also improves that insulin sensitivity, which is a longer term thing. And, you know, insulin is, you know, it sort of communicates to your cells as to, you know, where to put that energy in your fat cells or in your muscle cells to use them as energy. And your metabolism and your thyroid can be affected by intermittent fasting as well. So it's important to take an individualized approach and be aware with your own body and in tune with your own body. I know for myself, when I get very cold, I can feel that if I'm fasting and I get really cold, quite often, you know, a lot of functional doctors will use temperature, body temperature, to measure thyroid function and metabolism. And if you're getting very cold, it means that your metabolism has gone down. So we obviously want our metabolism firing strong. So, you know, quite often if I get really cold, I'll just eat. I'll break the fast earlier. But I've found personally mixing it up. If I do the exact same fasting window every single day, I find my body adapts to it, and I don't get the fat loss benefits that I do when I mix it up. So we spoke about an approach where, you know, you might do 5 days of you know, sticking to like an 18-6 sort of fasting cycle, and then maybe one day you don't fast at all. And then you're priming the metabolism again with more calories. And then another day you might be doing a really longer fast to really sort of tap into the fat stores. So have a play around with it, individualize it to yourself, experiment, see what works for you. And remember, the number one rule with intermittent fasting and any form of fasting is if you feel unwell for any reason, just have something to eat.